Greetings, folks. Hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dr. Peter James.
And I'm Dr. Lisa Withrow. Glad to join you for our series, Coaching Coaches on Campus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So excited to be here with you this morning, Lisa, as we explore what's going on college campuses and university campuses around the country right now in light of the COVID-19 crisis, especially from a leadership perspective. What are the leaders, and sure faculty as well, but what are definitely the leaders going through as they're having to design or redesign or relook at their campuses from a new perspective? What challenges are they facing? And we're going to talk about all of these different challenges, especially from a coaching perspective. And I guess we could start off by introducing ourselves, Lisa.
I am a former vice president for academic affairs and dean, and now I'm an independent scholar and coach, certified coach and consultant with specialty in leadership and conflict management. And I do a lot of writing around leadership, a number of publications around leadership. Looking forward to this conversation.
It should be an exciting one. Absolutely. I'm a former faculty chair of a business school, and now I split my time between coaching and teaching at the college level for sure, focusing on entrepreneurship and business courses. But from a coaching perspective, coaching leaders of organizations in academia and even in industry as well. And I'm watching a common theme right now as we're having to juggle or figure out what the present and of course the future holds. And of course, colleges and universities are no different right now, Lisa. I think they're having to, most of them have shut down. Actually, all of them that I know of have closed their doors and are doing the online remote classes right now. And most are succeeding. Lots of challenges during this transition, but it is almost, as everyone's been saying, it's a new normal. What does new normal look like moving forward? And that's one of the challenges that leaders are having to face moving forward from an organizational development perspective, from an organizational behavior perspective. It presents so many challenges. What are you seeing from your perspective, Lisa?
I think there is staggering change upon us, and there's no way around it. And institutions that will survive are the ones that are most adaptable.
Yeah.
Presidents have a tremendous issue in front of them. Enrollment is always an issue in higher education. And so questions about enrollment certainly are upon presidents in particular, and certainly vice presidents and deans and provosts. So the question is, what are we going to look like in 2021? How are we going to get there? And as I watch the news and talk to friends, I hear about 20% budget cuts and just phenomenal thinking about cutting back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the online challenge that the schools are going to face, if they're not already online or at least partially online, is that everybody's now online, as you said, Peter. And so when everybody's online, that means that the distinctiveness of each school lessens. And so various schools are going to have to figure out if they're staying online or if they're going to try to go back to at least hybrid or maybe face-to-face education as their primary mode of educating. Being online means you have to be distinctive in particular ways, and that's a huge conversation for all the stakeholders behind the school. The other thing I know that sounds sort of paradoxical, during times of downshift like this, professional investment and teamwork investment is so important, even though it may cost some money. Because when resources are scarce, we want to hunker down and just protect our silos and departments and things. But the training time now means that there's a better chance of sustainable future. So coaching, training, we found this out in the 2008 recession, that people who invest in the future during recession come out way better. So Presidents have a real challenge, and I hope that they use their teams really well to discuss thoughtfully what the next steps are.
Yeah, that's very good stuff, and looking forward to chatting more with you about this and during this series, of course, there, Lisa. One of the things that I thought about as you were talking about the presidents and the leadership is if you think about all the departments, all the administrative departments of the college or university right now, they are at home. I'm not even just talking about the faculty. I'm talking about the human
Right,
resources department, the registrar, the admissions.
right.
All of these different departments are working from home right now, serving the students. And that's a challenge in and of itself. And you mentioned teams. How were they able to successfully work in teams in this type of environment? Sure, Zoom, WebEx, or Microsoft Teams, all of these are the avenues of approach right now. But moving forward, we are having to continue to think about the safety of our employees, the safety of your employees, what matters from a psychological perspective, from a getting work done perspective as well. How is this going to work efficiently and effectively? And one of the things that is something to think about is while there is no specific timetable, what are the benchmarks that may be able to be implemented or seen in order to know when it is time to do different activities or to resume different activities? What are the benchmarks to say that, hey, we do stay at home in this capacity so that should this happen again, should a new wave of COVID-19 viruses, there's an uptick, what do we do there in those instances? So these are all the things to be thinking of, and also all the things to see how it impacts your people, right? Your people, all these different departments that are affected personally and and holistically as well. So lots of things for leaders to think about, lots of things for leaders to have to consider, but also lots of things that leaders should not work in a silo in, as you had mentioned there, of course, Lisa, and identify how to better prepare, how to better prepare your staffs and what they may need that they are not necessarily vocalizing. And that's something to think about as well.
It's very common in higher education to have silo departments, and the bigger the school, the more common
Yeah.
it is. But small schools are not exempt from this issue. So it I think departments have to learn how service for the bigger institution makes sense instead of surviving in my department and trying to survive myself. Um, Again, I refer to teams, and maybe there's a whole new way of working for a lot of higher education leadership networks, and leaders in particular, presidents and provosts who are kind of sandwiched in the middle between the faculty and the president, vice presidents, deans, all need to figure out how communication is going to work differently now, especially if there are cuts on the table. And so, how do they set up a plan about communication that keeps silos from entrenching,
Mhm.
and then there's no way forward when you're working in silos. So I've noticed in my past that when departments are told they need to cut the budget by 8% or 7%, now it's much more drastic in many cases, that departments get pretty busy and pretty creative if they're trusted to do the work rather than imposing such cuts. So the conversations are really important and may have to break out from the traditional pathways of communication. Faculty need to be in the conversation. They're used to being in their offices and doing their own research. Now it's time to think institutionally. And it's up to deans and vice presidents and provosts to invite that kind of thinking. So there's a shift not only in finances, there's a real shift in institutional thinking about the future.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Good stuff overall, Lisa. So, I guess I want to finish off on behalf of Kinetic Insight. We welcome you to Coaches on Campus. And also we challenge you to think of, as you go through this series, to how could a coach benefit you? How could a coach benefit your institution, your leadership on campus, that will allow you to prepare better for the future? Oftentimes we work in silos in order to prepare better for the future. But now, how can your teams, how can your individual leaders be coached effectively, be coached, partnered with effectively, in order to lead more effectively and efficiently? And I think that's where Kinetic Insights, and where we feel like the partnership that we can provide is so essential. And we've both worked with coaches we'll talk about, of course, but I'm excited to jump on in there, Lisa. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for this conversation.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And until next time, folks, please be safe. Take care.